The rain fell relentlessly, washing the city in a grim haze that seemed almost too fitting for what was about to unfold. In a place where hope and decay intertwined, two detectives embarked on a journey they would never forget, a case that would strip them of illusions and force them to face humanity's darkest depths. Their paths crossed at the scene of a crime, a murder so grotesque it set the tone for what lay ahead. A man, morbidly obese, was found dead at his dining table. The word, gluttony, scrawled across the wall in bold, accusing letters. Somerset observed the scene with detached precision, his eyes scanning every detail as if piecing together a jigsaw puzzle only he could see. Mills, on the other hand, was bristling with questions, frustration simmering beneath his skin. Who could do something like this? Mills muttered, pacing the room. Someone with a message, Somerset replied, his voice calm but edged with grim certainty. This isn't just a murder. It's a statement. The investigation spiraled deeper as they uncovered a pattern, a killer systematically executing victims in ways that mirrored the 7 deadly sins. Each crime scene was a tableau of horror, meticulously crafted to convey an unsettling moral message. The detectives worked tirelessly, piecing together the fragments of the killer's twisted philosophy. They scoured documents, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed crime scenes with painstaking detail, all while feeling the ever-growing weight of the killer's unseen presence. The next victim embodied greed, a wealthy lawyer forced to cut a pound of his own flesh as payment for his avarice. By the time the detectives arrived, he was already dead, a scale holding the bloody piece of flesh sitting beside him. The scene left even Somerset shaken, though he hid it well. "He's making us look," Somerset said quietly, gesturing to the scale. "Forcing us to confront the sins we ignore." "This guy's a lunatic," Mills shot back, his frustration mounting. "And we're playing his game." The press caught wind of the case, sensationalizing every gruesome detail. The city became gripped by fear, its people locking their doors and watching the news with growing unease. Somerset and Mills worked around the clock, haunted by the realization that they were always one step behind the killer. The deeper they dug, the more they realized the murders weren't just crimes, they were a chilling commentary on society's moral decay. As the days passed, the case took its toll on Mills and Somerset. Somerset, ever methodical, felt the pressure of time, his impending retirement loomed like a specter. Mills, passionate and volatile, struggled to control his emotions as the killer taunted them with cryptic clues and brutal murders. Conversations between the two detectives grew tense, their contrasting approaches to the case fueling moments of conflict. "You think too much," Mills snapped during a late-night stakeout. "While you're analyzing every angle, he's out there planning his next move." "And you don't think enough," Somerset replied, his voice calm but firm. "If we rush this, we'll miss something. And more people will die." The victims piled up, sloth, lust, and pride. Each crime is more horrifying than the last, each revealing a fragment of the killer's twisted ideology. The city seemed to grow darker with every passing day, the rain an unending dirge for the victims. Somerset and Mills, opposites in temperament, found themselves bonded by the enormity of the task. They shared sleepless nights and endless cups of coffee, their determination to stop the killer outweighing their differences. The turning point came when the killer, John Doe, turned himself in. A seemingly ordinary man with an unremarkable appearance, Doe's calm demeanor was more unsettling than his crimes. He offered a deal: he would lead them to the final 2 victims if they accompanied him. Against their better judgment, they agreed. The ride to the final location was suffused with tension. Doe sat in the back seat, speaking in a monotone that only heightened the sense of dread. "You think you understand me," he said at one point, his voice devoid of emotion. "But you don't. You're part of the problem." Mills clenched the steering wheel, his knuckles white. Somerset, seated beside him, kept his gaze fixed on the road, his thoughts racing. The desolate location they arrived at, an empty field under a blazing sun, held the final pieces of Doe's masterpiece. A delivery van approached, its arrival heralding the devastating truth. Mills's anger boiled over as Somerset tried desperately to maintain control of the situation. Those words, calculated and chilling, pushed Mills closer to the edge. "You envy me, Detective Mills," Doe said, his voice a maddening mixture of calm and conviction. "You envy the simplicity of my vision, don't you?" Mills's hands shook, his grip on the weapon faltering as he struggled against his own rage. Somerset watched the scene with mounting dread, sensing the trap that was closing in around them. The contents of the box delivered to the field shattered everything. Inside was the severed head of Mills's wife, a cruel and calculated act of vengeance that revealed Doe's envy of the life Mills had. The revelation ignited an uncontrollable wrath in Mills, pushing him past the brink of reason. Somerset pleaded with him to stop, his voice breaking as he warned of the consequences, but Mills was beyond hearing. Doe smiled, his expression one of victory as Mills raised his weapon. "I became wrath," Mills whispered, pulling the trigger. The echo of the shot hung in the air, a final punctuation to the nightmare they had endured. In the silence that followed, Somerset's words lingered, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." "I agree with the second part." The case was over, but its scars remained, etched into the lives of the two detectives and the city they had tried to protect. It was a story of sins and the price of understanding them, a grim reminder of the darkness that lies within us all.